Madeleine, I need you to call your sister. Right now. Before we talk about anything else. That was what my doctor said to me at 3:12 on a Friday afternoon in the small consultation room at the back of his practice in suburban Charlotte, with my routine blood work results pulled up on his monitor and his hand resting on the edge of the desk in a way that was too still. I had come in for a 6-month follow-up. I had been in his care for 2 years for a thyroid condition that had been managed with medication and that was, by every measure he had been taking of it for 2 years, completely stable. I had not been worried about the appointment. I had been planning to leave his office by 3:30 and to drive to the grocery store on the way home and to make a pasta dish for dinner that my husband had been requesting for 3 weeks. I said, "Dr. Whitaker, what are you talking about? Why would I call my sister?" He turned his monitor around so I could see it. The screen had my name at the top. The screen had my date of birth. The screen had the panel of blood work results from the draw I had done the previous Tuesday. Several of the values were highlighted in red. Several others were highlighted in yellow. He said, "Madeleine, these results are not yours. They are in your file, with your name, with your date of birth, with the order I placed for you. But these are not the results of the blood work I ordered. These are the results of a comprehensive metabolic panel, a lipid panel, a CBC with differential, and a tumor marker panel that I did not order. The values on the screen are consistent with advanced pancreatic cancer in a woman in her late 30s. I did not order any of those tests. Somebody else did. The order for those tests was placed at the same lab that drew your blood. The order was placed 2 days before your draw. The order was placed under your name and your date of birth and your insurance information. The patient who came in for that draw, 2 days before you came in, was not you." I sat in the small chair across from his desk. I tried to make my mouth work. I could not. He said, "Madeleine, do you have a sister?" I said, "Yes, I have one sister. Her name is Cordelia. She is 41. She lives in Atlanta." He said, "Has your sister at any point in the last several years had access to any of your personal information? Your insurance card, your driver's license, your social security number, anything?" I sat there. I tried to think. Hit subscribe. Drop your city in the comments. Stay all the way to the end. There is a thing I figured out in the next 48 hours that I had not been ready to figure out, and the figuring out has changed every relationship in my family, including the ones I had thought were already as broken as they could get. Listen the whole way through. My sister Cordelia was 4 years older than me. She had been, for most of our lives, the kind of older sister who other people thought was glamorous from a distance, and who I had known, from the inside, was a person who took whatever she wanted and called the taking by other names. She had taken my college boyfriend the year I was a junior. She had taken a piece of my grandmother's jewelry the week our grandmother died. She had taken, at various points across our adult lives, smaller things from my bedroom and my apartment and my house, and she had returned almost none of them. And when I had confronted her, she had said, every time, that I was being dramatic, that I had given the thing to her, that I was misremembering. The pattern had been the pattern of my entire life with her. I had stopped, 3 years before that Friday afternoon, doing anything about it. I had stopped because the doing of anything about it had cost me too much, and because my mother had been the kind of mother who did not want the sisters to fight, and because the cost of holding Cordelia accountable had always, somehow, ended up landing on me. I had been thinking, sitting in Dr. Whitaker's office, about the last time Cordelia had been at my house. She had been at my house in November of the previous year, 4 months earlier. She had come up from Atlanta for a long weekend. She had been alone in my home office for about 20 minutes on the Saturday afternoon while I had been in the kitchen making her a sandwich, because she had said she needed to make a phone call and had wanted privacy. I had not thought about it again. I told Dr. Whitaker. I told him in 3 sentences. He nodded slowly. He said, "Madeleine, I need to tell you something carefully. The results on this screen do not belong to you. They are real results from real blood work drawn from a real patient. The patient who had this blood drawn used your name and your insurance to get the testing done. The testing is expensive. The testing is the kind of testing somebody orders when they are pretty sure of what they are looking for and they need confirmation. The testing came back. The results are bad. Whoever was tested has, almost certainly, advanced pancreatic cancer. The values are not ambiguous. The CA-19-9 is very high. The bilirubin is elevated. The pattern is what it is. I am telling you this because the woman who came in 2 days ago using your name is a woman who is dying. She does not know yet because the results have not been delivered to her. The results are sitting in your file. I am the doctor of record. I would have called her. I would have called her at the phone number on file, which is your phone number. She would not have answered. The system would have generated a follow-up letter, which would have been mailed to your address, which is the address on file. You would have received a letter informing you that your test results required immediate follow-up for a condition you do not have. The woman who used your name would have continued to not know. She would have died, possibly within months, without ever finding out what was wrong with her. That is the situation we are sitting in right now. The situation is more complicated than identity theft. The situation is also a medical emergency for somebody who is not in this room. I sat there. I tried to breathe. He said, "I am going to ask you a question that is going to be hard. I want you to take your time. Do you have any reason to believe that the person who used your insurance information to get this testing done is your sister?" I sat there for a long time. I said, "Yes, I think I do. She has been in my home office unsupervised. She has had access to my insurance information. She has, at various points in the last decade, used my information for smaller things. She has signed up for store credit cards in my name. She has put a magazine subscription on my bill. I have caught her doing it twice. She has apologized both times. She has done it again, both times. I have been, for the last 3 years, refusing to deal with her on it, because dealing with her on it has not changed anything. If she has been using my insurance to get medical testing done, I have not known about it, but I would believe it. She would do it. She has done smaller things her whole life." Dr. Whitaker said, "Okay, Madeleine, has your sister told you recently that she is sick?" I said, "No. She has not told me anything. We talk on the phone twice a year. I last spoke to her at Christmas. She told me she was fine. She told me she was working a lot. She told me she was thinking about getting a dog." He said, "Has she lost weight that you have noticed?" I said, "I do not know. I have not seen her in person in 14 months. I have seen her in pictures my mother sends me. She has looked thin in the pictures. I had thought she was dieting. She has dieted my whole life." He nodded. He said, "Madeleine, I want to tell you what I think is happening. I am not certain. I am working from the information in front of me and from 43 years of being a doctor. I think your sister has known for some period of time that something is wrong with her. I think she has been having symptoms. I think she has been afraid to find out. I think she did not have insurance, or she had insurance with a deductible she could not afford, or she had insurance she did not want to use because she was afraid of the records that would be created if she used it. I think she came up to your house in November partly to see you and partly to take your insurance card and your information. I think she scheduled the testing in February in Atlanta under your name and your insurance because she had been getting worse and she could not stand not knowing anymore. I think she walked into the lab 2 days ago with a printed copy of your insurance card, and she had your driver's license number memorized, and she gave them your address and your phone number because she did not want the results to come to her, because she did not want to know. I think she walked out of the lab assuming the results would go into your file and would never reach her. I think she is, right now, in Atlanta, in her apartment or at her job, alone with the worst secret of her life, waiting for nothing in particular to happen, because she has been making sure that nothing in particular can happen. And I think the reason your blood work ended up cross-referenced with hers in the same file is that the lab that processed her draw and the lab that processed your draw 2 days later are part of the same system, and the system flagged the two records under the same patient identity. And an alert went to my office this morning, and my office staff thought it was a duplicate file error, and I did not look at it carefully until you walked in 20 minutes ago, and I started running your normal results, and I noticed a panel on the screen that I had not ordered, and I clicked on it. That is how we got here. I sat in the small chair. I felt very far away from my own body. I said, "What happens now?" He said, "What happens now is up to you. I am required, by law, to figure out what to do with these results, because they are real results for a real patient who is, at this moment, the legal owner of this medical record by virtue of being the person whose information was used to generate it. The patient of record is you, Madeleine. The results are in your file. I cannot, legally, deliver these results to anyone other than you. I also cannot, ethically, ignore that there is a woman somewhere who is dying and who needs to know. The way out of this is for you to give me permission to contact your sister directly, on the basis of your statement that you believe the results belong to her, and on the basis of her almost certain identity fraud, which we can pursue separately later or not at all, depending on what you decide to do. If you give me permission, I will call her this evening. I will tell her carefully that I have reason to believe a set of results in our system belong to her. I will ask her to come in. I will arrange for her to be tested again, under her own name, at no cost to her, in Atlanta, at a clinic I can refer her to. I will then deliver her real results to her in person, with her oncologist present. I will help her get into treatment. I cannot promise you that there is treatment that will save her. The values on the screen are advanced. I can promise you that without intervention, she dies sooner. With intervention, she may have months instead of weeks. With intervention, she may, in some scenarios, have years. The intervention starts with the phone call. The phone call requires your permission. I sat in the chair. I tried to think about my sister. I tried to think about the woman who had taken my college boyfriend, who had taken my grandmother's pendant, who had been borrowing pieces of my life for 41 years without ever asking. I tried to think about the woman who had, 4 months earlier, sat in my kitchen and eaten the sandwich I had made her, and asked me if I wanted to come down to Atlanta in the spring because she had a new favorite restaurant she wanted to take me to. I tried to think about the woman who had not told me, at any point in our last 6 conversations, that anything was wrong. I tried to think about whether my sister, knowing what she had been carrying, had come to my house in November to see me one more time before she got too sick to travel, and had taken my insurance card on her way out because she had been afraid, and had been ashamed, and had not known how to ask me for help. I tried to think about whether the version of my sister who had been borrowing pieces of my life for 41 years and the version of my sister who was alone in Atlanta with bad blood work were the same woman, or whether one of them was the woman my sister had become, while the other one had been the woman I had been telling myself she was. I sat in the chair. I cried. I cried for about 4 minutes. Dr. Whitaker did not say anything. He sat at his desk with his hands folded, and he let me cry. I said, "Yes, you have my permission. Call her tonight. I will call her too. I want to talk to her before you do." He said, "Madeleine, I would prefer you wait. I would prefer she hear from me first. The conversation she is about to have is going to be the worst conversation of her life. I have had to have this conversation before. I am better at it than you are going to be." I said, "I know, but she is not going to believe a strange doctor calling her about results she thinks are in my file. She is going to think it is a scam. She is going to hang up. She is going to spend the next 2 weeks ignoring it. She does not have 2 weeks. I am going to call her first. I am going to tell her I know what she did. I am going to tell her she has to take your call. I am going to tell her I am driving to Atlanta tonight. I am not going to tell her the results yet. I am going to leave that to you. But she has to know the call is coming, from me, from somebody who loves her, because she is not going to take it from anybody else. Dr. Whitaker looked at me for a long second. He said, "Okay, you call her. I will call her in 2 hours. If she does not pick up for me, I will keep trying. Madeleine." I am sorry this is the way you are finding out about this. I am sorry your sister did this. I am sorry the system worked the way it did. I am also, in a small way, glad. The system worked the way it did, and now we are sitting here, and now there is a path that did not exist this morning, and your sister is going to have a chance she was not going to have. I am going to take that for her, because she did not know she needed it. I left his office. I sat in my car in the parking lot for 10 minutes. I called my sister. She picked up on the 4th ring. She said, "Hey, I am at work. Can I call you back?" I said, "Cordelia, no. You cannot call me back. I need you to listen to me for 2 minutes. I am going to ask you a question. I am going to ask it in the kindest voice I know how to use. I want you to answer me. Please." She was quiet. She said, "Okay." I said, "Did you use my insurance information to get blood work done in Atlanta 2 days ago?" There was a long silence. She started to cry. She tried to hide it. She could not hide it. She said, "Maddie, I am so sorry. I did not know what else to do. I did not have insurance. I have not had insurance for 2 years. I have been losing weight and I have been having pain and I have been so afraid to know. I took your card because I knew if it came back bad, I would not have to know, because the results would just go to you and you would never look at them. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I will pay you back. I will pay back everything. I will. I am sorry." I said, "Cordelia, listen to me. Stop talking for 1 second. I love you. I know that has not always been easy for either of us to feel. I love you anyway. The results came back. They went to my doctor. He showed them to me. He knows they are not mine. He is going to call you in 2 hours. You are going to take his call. You are going to do exactly what he tells you. I am driving to Atlanta tonight. I will be there by 10. I am staying at your apartment. We are going to figure this out together. I do not want you to be alone with this. Whatever this is going to turn out to be, you are not going to face it alone. Do you understand me?" She cried harder. She said, "Maddie, the results were bad." I said, "Yes, they were bad. We are not going to talk about them on the phone. The doctor is going to walk you through them. You and I are going to do the rest together. I will be there in 5 hours. Do not do anything until I get there. Eat something. Take a shower. Do not make any decisions. I am coming." She said, "Okay." I drove home. I told my husband. I packed a bag in 9 minutes. My husband, whose name is Wendell, who is a quiet person who I have been married to for 12 years, who has known my sister and her patterns for the entire 12 years, did 3 things while I was packing. He called his work and told them he would be remote for the next week. He went to the bank's ATM and pulled out $2,000 in cash. He put a small toolkit in the back of my car because he had decided, without saying anything about it, that I might need it. He kissed me at the door. He told me he would drive down on Sunday. He told me he loved me. He told me to drive carefully. I drove to Atlanta. I made it in 4 hours and 27 minutes. I let myself into my sister's apartment with the spare key she had given me 3 years earlier, and I had never used. She was sitting on her couch. She had been sitting on her couch since the doctor's call. The doctor had told her, in measured language, what the results showed. The doctor had told her she needed to come in for confirmatory testing in the morning. The doctor had told her that there were treatment options and that they were not as limited as she might have been afraid they were, and that the next several days were going to involve a lot of appointments, and that he was going to coordinate them, and that she did not have to do it alone. She was sitting on her couch with her knees pulled up against her chest. She looked at me when I came in. She said, "Maddie, I do not deserve you driving down here." I sat down on the couch next to her. I put my arms around her. She was very thin. She was thinner than she had been in November. I had not let myself notice in November. I should have noticed. I said, "Cordelia, we are not doing the deserving conversation. Not tonight, not tomorrow, not next week. Maybe never. The deserving conversation is the conversation that has kept us out of each other's lives for 30 years. We are putting it down. We are going to bed. In the morning, we are going to a clinic. After the clinic, we are going to figure out what is next. The deserving thing is not the thing. You are my sister. I came. That is the entire conversation." She cried for a long time on my shoulder. I do not know how to tell you the rest of what happened in the 8 months since that night, because the 8 months have been long and full of things that I am not, mostly, going to put in a video. I will tell you the parts that belong here. The confirmatory testing showed what Dr. Whitaker had thought it would show. Cordelia has stage 3 pancreatic cancer. The cancer is operable. She has had 2 surgeries. She is in chemotherapy. Her oncologist, who is a woman named Dr. Folake Adeyemi, who I would walk through fire for, has told us that Cordelia has a real chance. The chance is not the chance any of us would have wanted. The chance is, by every honest measure, more chance than Cordelia would have had if she had not used my insurance card, if Dr. Whitaker had not happened to be the kind of doctor who clicked on a panel he had not ordered, if the results had not been delivered to me, if the call I made had been a different call. The identity theft, which Dr. Whitaker was technically obligated to report, and which would have been obligated to be entered into a state record, was managed by his office in a way I am not going to describe, except to say that it involved a long, careful conversation between him and his practice manager and his lawyer about the spirit of the relevant laws versus the letter of them, and it ended with a path that has not put Cordelia in any further legal jeopardy. I am grateful to him for the rest of my life. I have written him a letter every Christmas since. He has written me back. He retired in November. He is still my friend. Cordelia is living with us now. She moved up from Atlanta in May because the chemotherapy was easier to manage close to family, because she did not have anybody in Atlanta who was going to be her caregiver, because Wendell and I have a guest room with its own bathroom, and because the part of our family that had been broken for 30 years had been broken because we had been letting the breaking define the relationship. And we had decided, on a couch in Atlanta on a Friday night in February, to define it differently. Our mother lives 40 minutes from us. Our mother has been over for dinner twice a week since May. Our mother and Cordelia have been, slowly, having the conversations they had not been having. I have been having my own conversations with both of them. Wendell has been making a lot of soup. Cordelia is 41 years old. She is fighting for her life. She is, by every measure I can take of her, the older sister I had not known I had. The woman who took my college boyfriend in 2009 is somewhere inside her, and I have not forgiven that woman, exactly, and I am not pretending I have. The woman who is upstairs in my guest room, the woman who has lost 22 more pounds in the last 8 months, the woman who held my hand during her first chemotherapy infusion and apologized to me, again, for everything, is a different woman, who is also the same woman, and the having of both of them in my life is the work I am doing now. I want to leave you with one specific thing. There is a category of harm that we have not built good language for in this country. The category is the harm we do to family members we have stopped being honest with. The category is the harm of letting somebody know us only in pieces, only at angles, only at a distance, because we have decided that the cost of the closeness is too high. The category is the harm of refusing, year after year, to ask the question that would tell us who the person we are related to has become, because we have been afraid of the answer. I had not asked Cordelia, in any honest way, how she was doing in 3 years. I had stopped asking because I had decided that the answer was always going to be performative, that she was always going to tell me she was fine, that she was always going to be a person who took things from me without asking, and who lied about taking them. I had stopped asking because I had been protecting myself. I had been right to protect myself in the sense that the version of her I had been trying to be in relationship with had been hurting me. I had also been wrong because the protection had become a wall, and the wall had kept me from noticing that she had been getting smaller. The wall had kept me from noticing that the smallness had been physical, not just metaphorical. The wall had almost cost her her life. I am asking you, this week, to ask one honest question of one family member you have built a wall with. Not a confrontation, not an apology, not a forgiveness. Just a question. The question can be small. The question can be, "Are you okay?" The question can be, "How is your body these days?" The question can be, "Is anything happening that you have not told me about?" The asking is the thing. The asking is what I had stopped doing. The asking, if I had been doing it, would have given Cordelia somewhere to go with what she had been carrying, before she had decided that the only place she could go with it was a lab in Atlanta with a stolen insurance card. Most of the time, the question will not produce anything you did not already know. Once in a while, it will. The asking is cheap. The asking is the practice that keeps you available, in the small, private way that family members are available to each other, for the moment when the question matters. Cordelia is asleep upstairs. The chemotherapy is hard on her. She sleeps a lot. Bramble, my cat, has decided that Cordelia's lap is the lap. He follows her around the house. He sits on her during her infusions when she does them at home. He purrs the entire time. She has named him, in her own private vocabulary, the warm cat, because she says he is the only thing that makes her feel warm during the worst of the chemo. She has been calling him that for 6 months. He answers to it now. I am cooking dinner. Wendell is at the store. Our mother is on her way over. We are having pasta. The pasta dish is the one I had been planning to make on the Friday afternoon I left Dr. Whitaker's office. The grocery store on the way home that I never went to is the grocery store I went to last Sunday. The pasta is going to be good. I am going to make enough for leftovers. Cordelia eats small portions now, but she eats them more than once a day, and the leftovers are how we get her through the next morning. I am paying attention. I am asking the questions. I am keeping the wall down, day by day, on purpose. The asking is the thing.